The following program is rated D for dumb.
All right, everybody, welcome to Dumbing It Down with Dave. My name is Dave Canyon. I'm your one and only solo podcast host for this and every episode of Dumbing It Down with Dave. And right now, let's introduce Hal and Philly and Going for a Drive.
9 o'clock, I'm bored to death. Smoking so much I can smell my own breath. My baby left me, my best friend's not at home. Can't get that woman off my mind. I've never been the broody kind, but there's still one thing makes me come alive. Yeah, I'm gone for a drive.
The following podcast is rated D for dumb. You're listening to Dumbing It Down with Dave, the fastest podcast on earth. Listen to Dave commute to and from work on the New York State Thruway in his 2008 Kia Rio LX. He talks about pragmatism, truth, happiness, and the search for it all. Join Dave as he asks and tells you how life ought to be. And now, here's Dave.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dumbing It Down with Dave. Glad you could be here. Glad you could make it. And a special episode today. Are you ready to dumb it down and go for a drive? All right. That's fantastic. Let's just get going. I have an interview here with a man named Scott-Esterson. Scott-Esterson from a company called Audio-Namics. Audio, A-U-D-I-O-N-A-M-I-X. I interviewed him at Podcast Movement 2019 in Orlando, Florida. He has a couple of interesting stories to tell you about rock and roll, being on the road, and all that other good stuff, and a little bit about his company that he works for called Audio-Namics and Sound. And I think you're going to find this a pretty well-rounded and fun and interesting. Stay tuned for the rock and roll stories at the end of the interview. And so I want to thank Scott for his time. We do about 20-some-odd minutes. And so without further ado, let me bring you Scott-Esterson from Podcast Movement, August 2019. Here we go. A little bit of a delay here.
All right, welcome to Dumbing It Down with Dave, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dave Canyon. I'm here at the Talk Shoe Pavilion, the Talk Shoe recording studio here in PM19, Orlando, Florida, as the crowd of PM19 walks by us, and we're out here in the element. I'm here with a new good friend of mine, a guy that I greatly respect immediately, and I will talk more about him. He's going to say hello right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Scott-Esterson.
Hello there.
Scott-Esterson is a guy who I met here at PM19. He had Podcast Movement. He did a session. Do you remember what the session was called?
It was like turning your
Yes.
podcast into something good from a bedroom or bathroom.
That's
Something
right.
like
Something
that.
like that, on the cheap.
On the cheap.
On the cheap, something like that. That might not have been in the title, but definitely on the cheap. And I got to tell you, I was really impressed because I'll tell you what, Scott. First of all, before we get to that, tell us real quickly about the company that you're here with, because you're not really here for that session, but you're really here for something else. So let's do that real quick, get that out of the way.
I work for a company called Audio-Namics. It's a French company, and our offices are in Paris and Burbank. And
that sounds exotic.
And we do audio source separation. So we remove noise from behind a vocal, or we can take a song and separate it into 3 or 4 stems.
Right. Audio, yeah, right, stems. I just learned that term, by the way. Audio-Namics or
Namics.
Namics.
N-A-M-I-X.
N-A-M-I-X, Audio-Namics. And if you go to the website, I know you have some stuff there. You click on and it's amazing. You show there's like samples of what this thing that you have. You have a special thing that's on there, right?
Yeah.
And what is that called?
The Instant Dialogue Cleaner.
Yes, Instant Dialogue Cleaner. Excellent. So that's like your latest and greatest thing.
That's
and
our newest, latest, greatest. We can remove.
You need one for
wind.
You need one for your throat right now. Yeah.
Or maybe some tequila, one or the other. I'm not sure.
If I had been prepared, I would have known.
Too early.
Too early. No, really? Too early for tequila? All right, there you go. You would know because you have quite a history. And by the way, not only do I just like you, and I know that you're naturally funny and you're a fun guy. I could see hanging out with you and all that stuff.
That would be good.
Yeah, we could. And that'd be bad for us. So we probably won't do it. But I could see hanging out with Scott. So one of the things about your session that I want to tell you because this is my third podcast movement in 3 years, 17, 18, and 19. And it's very rare that you go to a session. And I'm not trying to take a shot at podcast movement. It's very rare that you go to a session where the speaker actually lives up to the description in the session. I don't know if you know that. It's a rarity. It really is. And it's not just me saying that as a highly critical New Yorker or whatever. It is something that you hear in the hallways a lot. It's like, I went to the session and it had nothing to do with what was written in the description, and he didn't live up to it. So, but you did, and I know that you held back because you said something at the top that you could really like kill us with information.
And
you know a lot.
And if you kill it and you're glazed, you don't learn anything. But you talk to the people, to what they can pick out of it and make it into relevant terms that they can go home with.
Right, exactly. And I have a situation where I'm a podcaster. A lot of people who are listening to this are podcasters or whatever in the world of recording. And they might have a home studio, in their kitchen, in the living room, in their den, in their closet. Or me, I'm building a shed. I'm not building a shed. I'm buying a shed. I might build a shed. I doubt it, though. But if I meet somebody who's handy with tools. But I would rather just buy the shed. And it's going to be an empty wooden shed made of some sort of cheapo quarter-inch plywood, maybe. Who knows? Mm-hmm. It's not going to be Lowe's or Home Depot. It'll be some shed company. I have done some shed shopping, and it's pretty impressive what's out there. And I'm going to build one of these in my backyard. And to hear you speak and the way you simplify it by either adding furniture or whatever it is, the
curtains, drapes.
But if you do buy foam, you were talking about where to put the foam in the corner and this and that, left and right and forward and back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I blew you away with my question. Do you remember my question? You were a little.
Oh, you're talking about the sound. Breaking up the ceiling and floor ratio, so making it non-parallel.
Yeah. You spent the whole time talking about left and right, forward and back, and all I can think about is, hey, he's not mentioning up and down. And I was like, I'm going to ask that question because I'm really curious, because that's got to be important. It's part of the environment, up and down. And then when I asked you, you kind of tilted your head and you gave me a look. You're like, why? I was hoping nobody would ask that question. And so why is that? And you said I opened up a can of worms.
It is a can of worms. You're breaking up. You don't want a parallel surface, either side to side or up and down,
right?
Because that's really deleterious to the sound. So you put what we call a cloud. It could be plywood,
right,
with some foam on one side, and above that I would put in maybe R32 or rock wool, which will absorb bass, and you won't even see that.
Excellent.
And if you can put it, maybe it doesn't have to be a steep angle. So in front of you is closer to the ceiling, maybe an inch down, 2 inches down, and behind you is maybe 3 to 4 inches down. And that's enough to break up the surface, and it's called a quadratic. You're breaking up a quadratic equation of 4 equal walls.
Wow, you are quite knowledgeable in this. First of all, you used the word, I think, deleterious. Mm-hmm. So I just lost half my listeners because it's called Dumbing It Down with Dave, and now you're doing quadratic.
It ain't cool. You don't want to do it.
Yeah, there you go. And but I appreciate that. Can I find this information on the internet? Can I go Google it? And there are images of these things that you're talking about, because that'll help me. I'm more visual than I am audio or reading.
There's a lot of really good acoustic panel companies. Some are cheap, some are very good.
Right.
And there's a company, for instance, called Auralex, AURALEX.com. They have a lot of information on their website.
All right.
And
thank you for spelling it, by the way. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's, through the accent, it's a little bit hard to understand what you're saying, but that's not true. I'm only
well, you're Mississippi accent.
I know. My southern, the other side of the Mississippi, by the way. Just want to make that clear.
Okay.
But yeah, okay, that's great, because I definitely want to. I'm so impressed by your knowledge and the way you just really are comfortable with it. And this knowledge was gained back in the day with you being on the road.
Yeah.
With well, let's talk about that, because that's one of the things that really intrigued me. I love the other stuff, the audionamics, right? Mm-hmm. But I want to talk about this. Let's get to some maybe some dirt, maybe some not so dirt, but your name's out there. I said Scott-Esterson, so we can't hide behind an anonymity. Tell us something about your road experience. Tell them about when and where and who and what, if you can.
Okay, sure. Right after college, I was lucky enough, I met George Benson right as Breezing came in. 3-day job turned into about 10 years with him.
Wow, 3-day job turned into 10 years.
Yeah.
What year is that? Did it start?
76.
76, and this is before Benson is on Broadway, right?
Oh, way before that.
Oh, way before that. And what you said the song it was?
Breezing.
Breezing. All right, there you go.
Breezing in This Masquerade. That's his first big hit.
Breezing in This Masquerade. Okay, and so 3 days turned into 10 years.
And then worked with Crusaders, Minnie Riperton, the Motels, Jay Giles Band, Air Supply.
When you say work with them, on the road?
On the road, yeah.
On the road. Concerts, arenas?
Concerts, arenas,
theaters,
clubs.
And you did what specifically for that?
Depending on the tour, I was either the front of house guy or the monitor guy.
Front of house guy or monitor guy.
Yeah.
So the monitors on stage.
The monitors for the band for the band to hear, and the front of house is for the audience to hear.
Excellent. You did either one.
Yeah.
Were you freelance? Like, in other words, you didn't work. Did you work for a company?
I worked for a long. I was freelance, but a long time I worked for George Benson's management company.
Okay.
And whoever was going out, I went out with them, and that was a lot of fun.
And you go out for how long at a time? Because if they're out on the road, you're on the road.
One time was 14 months
straight.
Wow.
With who?
That was with George Benson.
Wow. Give us a sample of that life, because I mean, I'm going to ask you. You're not married.
No, I was not married.
No, you're not married.
I am now.
You are now, so that's why we can only tell.
So, ladies, I'm sorry. You load in, depending, when we had an orchestra, we would load in at 10 in the morning, typically.
Into the arena or wherever.
Into the arena, yeah. And when we worked with an orchestra, there could be between a 30 and 60 piece orchestra. You have to set up the risers, put sound absorption to keep the orchestra string section away from the band who's playing at a louder level.
Off the back of a tractor trailer, probably, right? Or the load-in. You're
doing the load-in, yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on the tour, from 1 to 3 trucks.
Right. Wow.
Were loaded and unloaded every day.
And those the equipment, the stuff that you're on wheels, what are those boxes? What are those things called?
Road cases.
Cases, right? Road cases. Yeah. Were you moving those?
Yeah.
So you were hands on. You didn't just wait for your guys.
No, we had stagehands to help you, but you're pushing and lifting and moving. Yeah, it's great. You're doing a lot of work.
You're doing a lot of work, starting at 10 in the morning.
10 in the morning, and then you go through the concert. Then you got to tear down, which was typically 90 minutes. So you're done maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning. If you don't have an orchestra, then it's a shorter day.
Right.
And if you're doing a club tour, then you come in around 3 in the afternoon because you already got a PA system.
Oh, yeah, well, that helps. All right.
Yeah, but those are a nightmare to do. Clubs are not fun.
Clubs are not fun. First of all, the arena, you just described 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. That's like 16 hours.
Yeah, and you're crushed. Well, you might try to get a little cat nap in there.
Yeah, wow. That's there's dress rehearsals, there's all that stuff, and there's a craft service or something like that. I want to picture in my mind before we get to the clubs.
You get a lunch or dinner. Yeah, they feed you.
And so the band, some bands travel by bus. How were you traveling?
Depending on the tour, sometimes we drove a car afterwards. Sometimes we drove a
10-passenger van, or
not a 10-passenger van. When you go on a vacation, an RV, which really was horrible.
Really?
And then when a band got to a certain point, then you have a professional bus driver, a really nice Greyhound-sized bus with beds in it.
The rock and roll coaches.
The rock and roll coaches. So those were nice.
You've traveled in those.
Yeah.
Even though you're the sound guy, you might front of the house or monitor guy, you were in one of those rock and roll buses.
Yeah.
Florida Custom Coach or Senators or any one of those companies.
I can't remember who they were. Yeah.
Because I used to be a bus driver, so I know a little bit about it. That's what I know, but I know very little about it.
And then a lot of times, if it's one-offs, you fly from A to B to C to D.
Right. So you like being in one city for a couple of days because you didn't have to break it down until the end, right?
You didn't break a couple of days. It was one day. You're in, you're out.
All the time, George Benson.
Most of there were a couple times when we were on Broadway in New York.
Mm-hmm.
That was wonderful. The Belasco Theater. There, we were there for 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, great.
That was really fun.
That's fantastic because you just load in and then
and it's up, and
we're good.
And we're good. I love those gigs.
Yeah. By the way, so not to pry, not to be nosy, because we're just doing this interview. Financially worthwhile, but it's not about that.
Well, it's nice to have money, but in the beginning, I didn't know what it was worth. I was probably underpriced myself in the beginning, the first couple tours, and you build your name up, and yeah, you can make a good living out of it.
The reason why I asked that, because when I was a bus driver, 20 some odd years ago, 25 years ago, I met one of those Florida custom coach bus drivers. His name was Hoot. I don't know, but apparently he was a legend in the industry. His name was Hoot. He was driving Freddie Jackson. He was driving Freddie Jackson. Anyway, he let me on his bus, on the Freddie Jackson bus, and it was like really a bordello on wheels. Everything was so plush, gumball machine, big screen, all the TV. It was at that time top notch comfort. So that's why I love the whole idea of the rock and roll bus.
When I think of tour buses, there was an event that happened outside of Florida.
Here we go. I want to hear this.
We were going we just finished. I was on tour. George Benson. We just finished a gig at the Gusman, I think it's a Gusman Theater in Miami, and we're going, I don't remember where, I think it was Texas.
Right.
And it's late at night, and we're driving, truck driver's going, and there's this guy in a convertible Mustang, a yellow Mustang, and he's with his girlfriend.
Right.
So they're driving alongside of us, and he thought it would really be funny. He goes in front of us, he jams on the brakes.
Oh, no.
Our truck driver had the jam on the brakes.
Sure.
And we go flying in there.
Oh.
And they're laughing at us, giving us the finger.
Right.
So we got to get it back to this guy. So there was a downhill stretch, and we start, and the truck driver floors it.
Yeah.
And we're going at him.
Building momentum because he's loaded.
Yeah, he's loaded. So
I get it.
We're in the right lane. He's in the left lane. We're catching up. And a guy is ready to pull this lever, which had all of our waste, all of our pee.
Really?
Yeah. So we go 4,
That's
3,
right, Winnebago.
2,
right.
1. Now this is big Greyhound bus.
Yeah. Oh,
and
okay, right.
And
Bus,
he pulls the lever, and I don't know how many gallons came flying
Wow.
out, flooded the poor guy
Wow.
and his girlfriend.
Wow.
And this guy's like zigzagging all over the road. Truck drivers are crying. They're watching us. That's with all the ham radios. And,
CB radios.
The CB radios, and all these guys are just cracking up for miles. The guy was drenched.
Wow. When I asked you to bring the dirt, I didn't know you were going to bring like the sludge. So you definitely brought the sludge. That's a fantastic story. That's good enough for me, man. I love that. That's probably one of hundreds of stories that you could recollect at any time.
Yeah, that one when you brought up the truck.
Yeah. That's good. So all right. So you did ride in those. So you did ride in those rock and roll buses. So this guy Hoot says to me, Dave, he had a real Southern accent. He was old. I think he might have had a couple of teeth left. And he says, let me tell you something. You come work for me at Florida Custom Coach. You work for me. You come to work on day one, you'll have a dime in your pocket. 3 months later, 6 months later, 1 year later, you still have that dime in your pocket. And you'll have plenty of money in the bank because you ain't going to spend a dime. You do your laundry with the band, you eat with the band, you're going to, everything with the band. And that's why I was asking you, like, was there an expense? Did you, was there anything?
No,
really...
you got per diem. I mean, I pocketed all my money.
Yeah.
And it went right into the stock market.
Oh, good for you.
And my father was a stockbroker. So
that's
okay,
fantastic.
So trust my pop.
Yeah, father and son relationship.
Yeah, so I lived on per diems and tried to, when you're working, your breakfast, lunch, and dinner was pretty much free. And I'll just use discretionary income.
Yeah, okay. I understand what you're saying. Well, that's great. And what about now? How many years later? Do you think it's the same industry? Do you think is this something?
Well, the load in and load outs are still the same. The traveling is the same, but now the equipment has improved a lot.
Right.
But it's still a very long day.
Right.
It's gotten lighter, which is nice.
Right. Is it a young man's game?
Oh, it's a young man's game.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If you're a mixer, you get to a certain point, you're not pushing the gear anymore. You'll still set up the desk.
Right.
If you're a front of house guy or the lighting designer, you'll set up the desk and there's a system tuner, somebody to tune the PA system now.
Right.
He really is your adjunct. You two are attached at the hip for the house guy for a big tour. And the system, the guy who's in charge of the system, who tunes the system, makes sure it goes up, you have proper coverage. He's your guy.
Right. So you always did sound. You didn't do lighting.
You didn't want me doing lighting.
Right, because...
I got lousy eyes.
There you go. All right. But you did sound, and when you were younger, did you see? When I was younger, 16, 17, 18, and growing up in New York City, there was a nice local tri-state area club circuit, and I always try to roadie for people, help set up, because I was a drummer, so I would be a drum tech if I could. I'd do anything. There was a band in Long Island. I don't know if you ever heard of them, called the Good Rats.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I saw them in Cincinnati.
They're fantastic. Pepe Marcello, by the way, the lead singer, passed away, but his sons, one of his sons, is still keeping the band strong. They're still playing out, and so that was my band. And I always was, oh man, if these guys hit it, I'm gonna be right there with Pepe. We're gonna tour. I just wanted to push those crates, and I wanted to help set up. I wanted to be a roadie. So is that one of the ways that you did? Is roadieing for local bands the way? How do you do that?
When I went to school in Cincinnati, I was in charge of the concert committee for 2 years.
1 second. We'll be right back.
Productions, Electric Factories based out of Philly. There was Dino, St. Angeles, and Ross Todd Productions.
Were you always like an AV guy? Were you always the AV guy?
Yeah.
Setting up the projector?
Yeah, I was the guy with the best stereo. So it's like, Scott can fix it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, I was working for them, and I always liked sound. It just was my natural attraction.
Like sound. Yeah. That's a sentence you don't hear very often. Nobody says that. I like sound. Tell me about that. What do you mean you like sound? Like in your life?
It's like I'm the type of guy that's drawn to noise, and like I'll hear things. Maybe I was ADD as a kid, so I do hear the lawnmower out there, and it intrigued me hearing how sound moves, how it's far away, and you can pinpoint sound where it's coming from. And that's always intrigued me.
Is that like a savant thing, do you think?
Could. My wife had another term for it, but we'll leave it as savant. Okay?
Years ago, they used to describe you. I know you know probably a little about NASCAR, right? Dale Earnhardt.
Sure.
Senior.
Of course, yeah.
They used to say, because he was great at drafting, in which one car would be right behind the other car. And they would say that out of all the drivers, Dale Earnhardt would see the air. He would see the air. You can hear the sound.
I hear the sound.
Right now? Can you see it right now? Is it?
No, I've got my sunglasses on, so no. But no, I mean, I would like when in high school when I took physics, and he was talking about sound. It made so much sense to me. It was like, oh, everybody should get this.
Yeah.
It clicked, Mr. Birnbaugh, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's one of your physics teacher?
That was my physics teacher in 11th grade, yeah. So, I mean, I just got it, and it made sense. And, in college I was University of Cincinnati sound man, and then I took classes in it and just started doing this stuff in college. And it was, and George Benson was gracious enough to open the
There was no way you could avoid this. This was destiny for you.
Yeah.
George Benson's still alive today?
He's still touring and still one of the best guitar players in the world.
Do we have a relationship with him at all? Or it wasn't like that? It was like,
No, he was one of the coolest guys in the world. A sweet, nice guy. Yeah.
Right.
I touch base with him every blue moon.
Well, he relied on you. The sound.
Yeah.
I mean, he sounds good. If you know what you're doing, he sounds better.
Yeah.
All right. And
he used to go, brother, this man is taking his woman for a date. You need to make sure he can close the deal. You got to do a good job, brother.
I see. It was on you that these guys would have a good date.
Because
of the sound. All right. You just quickly said before that clubs, you didn't like. You like theaters and arenas?
Yeah.
Clubs you didn't.
Oh, because you had all sorts of stairs. The PA system typically was old, wasn't very good. It was a different mixer. Maybe the mixer worked properly. The mixing console.
It's their equipment.
It's a lot of times their equipment.
Yeah.
And you were at the mercy of some good systems, which were great, and some places sounded incredible, and some sounded not so good.
Right. So, and that was a test. I mean, that's did you enjoy the challenge? You go, did you roll your eyes and go, why? Why can't we just?
In any business, you've got great nights and bad days.
Right.
Good days, bad days. Sure.
Right. Absolutely. Well, listen, man. Good. I was able to. Believe it or not, we've been talking for about 24 minutes.
Shazam.
Something I don't hear. I haven't heard that in a long time. Billy Batson. Shazam.
Shazam.
Well, you were a comic book guy?
Or it could be Gomer Pyle.
Shazam.
Sergeant
Right.
Carter.
Yeah, Sergeant Carter. Wow, you're a man after my own heart. That's my Nick at night when I had nothing else to do. I'm just watching Gomer Pyle, WKRP in Cincinnati. Do you ever do radio stations or recording studios?
Oh, yeah, I definitely worked in studios. Radio stations, no.
Okay.
My brother was a DJ in Philly, but wasn't my thing.
Anybody people in Philly would know?
Michael Tierson.
Michael Tierson on
WMMR. He was a very big DJ.
WMMR, and now?
And now he's retired.
Okay, there you go.
I'm the baby of the family.
Are you really? How many are there of you?
3 of us.
And you're the only one in sound?
Yep.
Yeah, you're the only one in your whole life in sound. Really? I mean, you know people in the business, but in your circle of friends and your family and your network.
No, my circle of friends, I got a lot of sound engineers.
There you go. Is that a different conversation when you guys hang out? Is that like a whole thing?
It gets geeky.
Yeah, it gets geeky. That's a podcast right there. That's a niche podcast right there. And you know what we're going to call it? Have you heard? There you go. You know what I heard?
What does one sound engineer say to another?
I don't know what.
Huh?
That's a good one. See, I bought right into it. That's good. You got any others? That's good.
I tell you, I'm here every Thursday. No.
All right. Try the veal. 2 shows a night. Well, listen, you told me a story about the bus. That was great.
I'll give you a quick.
I love it. Go ahead. We got time.
Okay, when a guy comes on the road for his first tour, you got to mess with the guy. You got to break him in.
Right, hazing, a little hazing.
Yeah. So when the kick drum is a big microphone,
right, and
we would put a fly inside the kick drum, so you're hearing, and you'd send the new guy out there,
right,
go, what's going on? We're hearing this sound. What is it? And we're cracking up watching him.
Right,
it's a fly inside the microphone.
That's fantastic.
Or I'm really dating myself. We'd have a little teeny tiny AM radio. So you're hearing,
right.
And we say, what is it? And the guys were placing all these cables.
That's fantastic.
And we have a radio hidden underneath the kick drum or
little AM, one of those handheld AM. I remember those.
Yeah.
Get them at Modell's or something like that. Well, any department
Radio
store.
Shack.
Yeah, Radio Shack.
Yeah.
$5-10 or whatever like that. Well, that's fantastic. So, you really shared a lot with us, Scott, and it was really a pleasure to meet Scott Esterson from Audionomics.
Thank you.
Is it Nomics or Namix?
Namix. As long as you buy, you can call it Namix, Nomics, whatever you want.
I'm from New York, so I think I got to say Nomics. Yeah, I think I have to. I'm sorry. I don't want them to revoke my New York license. So Audionomics, that's AUDIONAMIX.
Very good.
Yeah, I know. I got
guys
lucky.
From upper New York State, you're pretty sharp.
Yeah. I get lucky sometimes. And .com. And when you go to that site on the homepage, I think you'll see this thing that you're talking about.
Instant Dialogue Cleaner, and there's a great demo up there on what we can do. And it's, you simply turn the noise down with a knob. It's really easy.
Unbelievable. All right, so that's Scott Esterson. Obviously, how can you be contacted? Through the website, or you want to give any other information?
Yeah, I'm sure. It's if you want to go to Audionomics, there's a number of places for help, for information, and they all end up on my email.
Fantastic. Scott, it was such a pleasure meeting you. It really was. It was great talk. We had a good time, right? We did good. You didn't reveal too much.
And we didn't even talk about the kill on this one.
we didn't incriminate ourselves in any way. All right, that'll be in the next episode, because we're gonna get back together. I know it. We're gonna be in touch. And when I get my shed, I'm gonna be such a pain in your side. You're gonna be like, why?
And I'm gonna go. No, my name is Victor Shakapopoulos. I don't know what this guy does.
I would buy into it. I'm so dumb. I would buy into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Dumbing It Down with Dave here at the Talk Shoe Pavilion in Orlando, Florida. PM 19. Today is like August. I don't know what it is. 13, 15, 16. 12th was my birthday, so this was a nice little side birthday present. I appreciate it, Scott. Scott Esterson, www.audionomics.com. Thank you, Scott. You're welcome. Thank you.
Time is running out. Don't go over. It disrupts everything. How much time do you have left? Are you wearing your glasses?
All right, looks like I have a little bit, less than a minute. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. That was Scott Esterson from Podcast Movement 2019 in August. We did that in Orlando. His company is Audionomics, AUDIONAMIX. Thank you, Scott. Those are some great stories, and this product here is really fantastic. You go to the homepage, and you'll see the all-new X-Trax stems now available. So go to audionomics.com. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Hal. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Don't forget 3477 I am dumb if you want to leave a voice message. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. right, that was a lot of fun. That was a good time. Thank you. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope everybody buys a sample of Going for a Drive. Right, Hal?